recording. Okay. So we're calling this meeting to order. In accordance with the requirements of the open meetings law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. The agenda lists all of the topics that may be discussed at the meeting and those that are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Please address all comments to the chair. This meeting of the Conservation Commission will be held by Zoom at the link provided in this notice. For anybody who may be joining on Lunenburg Live, the meeting ID is 839-3048-0895, passcode 860872. And I do strongly recommend that anybody that is joining by TV that wants to join us to go to the Lunenburg mass.gov website, download the agenda, because the Zoom links are clickable from the agenda, and it takes all of the guesswork out of making certain you don't mistype those series of numbers. Okay, we will start tonight with a roll call. And I will start out by saying that Bob Pease expects to join us, but will be late. Richard Birch also expects to join us, but has been unavoidably and unexpectedly delayed. Richard Tremblay. Rich, you're on mute still.
Okay, I'm present. I don't know if you heard me or
not. No, I didn't, but thank you for the recording. Jeff Viviano.
Present.
Mike LaRouche.
Present.
Chris St. Germain. Don't see Chris. Okay. And yeah, so that does give us a quorum. We're just there. So we will start out with announcements. Are there any announcements from members of the commission? Any announcements by members of the public? Okay. We do not have any meeting minutes to review. Those are still on serious backlog due to the staffing issues. And we have no appointments or hearing, or yeah, we have no appointments. So we will start our new public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request for determination by A&M Construction Services for construction of 3 residential homes with associated driveways, utilities, and rain gardens at 274 Prospect Street, a little tongue-tied. Do we have somebody from A&M here tonight or their representative?
Wesley Fliss, Haley Ward, here to represent A&M.
Very good. So Wesley, why don't you take us through your
You want me to share my screen?
I do. Let me correct that setting. Okay, you should be able to share. And Wesley, you have the floor.
That pop up on your screen?
Yes, I can see that. Maybe
Perfect.
make it a little bit bigger for us. There's a lot of white space around the margins. Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
So the property that we're looking at this evening is 274 Prospect Street. Prospect Street being located here, Lake Whalum located on the bottom of the page, Pond Street, and then Kimball Street fronting on the other two sides of the property. The proposal that was in front of the planning board on Monday night and now in front of you guys is to create this property to 3 A&R lots. The reason we're in front of you is the 100-foot buffer zone from Lake Whalum encroaches slightly into the southern portion of the property, which is shown here in purple, which is the 100-foot buffer in this location here. The majority of the work is out of the 100-foot buffer zone that we're showing on the plan. The reason we're in front of you tonight is for a request for determination of applicability for utility connections. We're showing water connections for this duplex here in this small section of Prospect Street, and then 2 sewer services also in that 100-foot buffer zone for the other 2 duplex buildings. The water services for the other 2 duplex buildings would come off of Kimball Street, which is out of the 100-foot buffer zone, and then the sewer service for the duplex over on the left-hand side is also out of the 100 buffer zone. But because of the way things kind of set up, those are the only way we can get the utility connections for these buildings is to go into the 100-foot buffer zone. Again, we would, disturb Prospect Street and then patch it. And then same with the ground where we would trench for the utilities. And then, those areas that would be trenched within the 100-foot buffer zone would go back into a grassed or field condition. And so we filed the RDA because we think it's a very minor impact, if any impact, to the resource area, being on the other side of other side of Prospect Street from Lake Whalum, and for us keeping all the rest of the work out of the 100-foot buffer zone and out of the resource areas. We do show on the design plans, and it's, we show basically what's in green here is basically the limit of work. We show road control barriers along the base of what we consider the limit of disturbance on the property. And we also do show on the plan that we colored here for you tonight, also just kind of showing what we anticipate maybe for stockpile areas also being enclosed within, road control barriers. Make sure that everything that happens on the property doesn't negatively impact Lake Whalum. We do also show some erosion control barriers around the drop inlets along Prospect Street, where they're not catch basins. There's a couple of drop inlets on the project side of the street, and so we also are showing protection around those drop inlets during construction phase. Again, that's why we're here tonight is for the RDA, for that work in your resource area, and we try to limit it as much as we could, the work that we're doing in the resource area. You can answer any questions.
Do you have detail on your proposed erosion barrier?
What was that? I missed that.
You have the details in this drawing on the proposed erosion barrier, or
I
can
do.
you tell us
Yep.
what that is?
And so on the full set of plans, we did show the detail for that. So we're calling for a 9-inch diameter straw wattle with a filter fence. And I can show you that detail. I'm just trying to blow it up here before I bring it onto the screen. And so that was the detail that we proposed for the erosion control.
Okay. So I had the benefit of going out there this weekend along with fellow Commissioner Rich Tremblay. It didn't really look like there were any trees on this property. Is that, am I recalling correctly?
Yeah, and so this property has been, there's been a number of proposals on this property over probably the last 20 years or so now. I know a couple of different landowners have cleared the property over the years. Some of them had kind of maintained it as more of a field. And so, yes, there aren't really too many mature trees on the property. It's more overgrowth and more brush and so forth on the property.
And I did notice that there was a lot of Japanese knotweed, and I'm curious, certainly not part of the Wetland Protection Act, but is there a plan for that?
So we had this property looked at before for wetlands, and a couple of different iterations that we've looked at doing projects on this property. We actually had a order of conditions issued by the previous Conservation Commission years ago now in one of the iterations that we had done. And there were no wetlands on the property. I know that was a question that even the planning board had, is just to make sure that, you know, they wanted to make sure that we were going in front of you guys to make sure that nothing was on the property. And so that was something that Anthony Cleves from our office, who did the plans, made sure the planning board knew on Monday when he met with them. So.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't think anybody's questioning that. I mean, at least I'm not, but my question was, I noticed there was a lot of Japanese knotweed on the property, and I was curious if you were going to address that. That's all.
You mean getting rid of all
Yeah.
those? You mean? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the intent is to get rid of anything on there that's invasive. And then I because of some of the clearing that's happened before, I know they don't want some of the growth that's come in. And so that is
Mhm.
part of why, you know, what we're showing on the plan in light green there is really what they're looking at as limited disturbance as part of this, is to kind of get rid of some of the growth that has come in that they don't want to remain on the property.
Okay. Okay. Again, curiosity, it won't be in the order of conditions because it's certainly not part of the scope of the Wetlands Protection Act, but it's a worry around town, and particularly next to a sensitive area like this. So it's
Yeah, and
nice
I
that
think-
that's a thought in what you guys are planning for this property.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, let me just yeah, and that's, I know Anthony did include that in his narrative too, in the work description,
Mm-hmm.
is to take care of some of that overgrowth on the project site. Because I know when he walked the property with the client, that was one thing that they did talk about, is
Okay.
to get rid of anything on there that they don't want for, you know, plant growth on the property.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to open the floor for my fellow commissioners if they have any questions or comments. Mike LaRouche, you have the floor.
Yes, just curious, where are the rain gardens located? Am I not seeing them on the plan, or?
Nope, they're, so I don't know if my cursor where I'm, so we have a rain garden for each duplex.
Okay,
So there's a rain garden.
okay, I thought, all right,
And so
great,
what we tried doing is locating the rain gardens downstream of the buildings and the driveways so that they can collect the runoff from the especially the driveways was our biggest concern. And so we have a
Okay.
rain garden here for the left duplex, a rain garden here for the upper duplex, and then a rain
Okay.
garden on the lower right-hand side for the right-hand duplex.
excellent. My only other question is, have you gotten your DEP number yet?
So we don't get a DEP number for an RDA.
Okay. Hence the X's.
Well,
Okay,
that's
thank
that's
you.
actually a typo in the agenda that you picked up on Mike.
Okay, it
Yeah,
shouldn't be there.
shouldn't be there. That's correct. And I
That's all I
reviewed
have.
their agenda and I overlooked that. So good
No,
eyes.
we had picked up on it when we saw the agenda too, so that's what we had. That's why we were curious if it was gonna come up, so.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions from Mike? Were you have another question?
No, I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, I think I'm looking for a motion to approve with a negative determination.
So moved by Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second, Mike.
And I'm assuming that this is movement for negative determination with standard order conditions. Just to say it out loud. So roll call vote, Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano.
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
and I for myself. That is a negative determination with standard order conditions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving along, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request for determination by Karina Veenstra for the placement of a 4x16 rolling dock at 19 Cliffview Terrace. Do we have Karina or her representative here on the call tonight? I saw Karina on the call. Do see Karina on the call.
Sorry, yes, I was trying to find the button to speak. I'm present.
Yeah, no issues. It's not, I live in Zoom, but I know it's not second nature to everybody.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you speaking for yourself, or do you have a representative that's going to speak?
No, I'm speaking for myself.
Okay, very good. So why don't you review the scope of the work with the commission?
All right, so I live on Hickory Hills Lake on Cliffview Terrace, and we're looking to place a 16 by 4 rolling dock, or I should say 4 by 16 rolling dock sticking out into the lake from our shoreline.
Okay,
That is
very
kind of the
good.
scope of it.
I have some photos, but I did not get them sent to our part-time person in time to get them uploaded to the site. So does anybody want to see those photos? I would need to get them uploaded real quickly. I'm happy to share them. It'll just be a pregnant pause. Okay, let me, I don't see anybody saying that they want to see them. And I don't have any questions. I was there on Saturday, me and Rich. And I don't have any questions other than what Karina explained during our site walk. So I'll open the floor to other members of the commission to ask questions of Karina. And Karina, let me just also ask for the record, you already have advised and gotten consent from Hickory Hills Lake Owners Association?
Correct, yeah. And that was contingent on LCC approval.
Okay. Thank you. So no questions. Rich Tremblay, you had a question? You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to add that during the site walk, we did view where this, the dock is going to be placed in the water. No trees are coming down. There's going to be very little disturbance, and easy. And so I just wanted to add that for those that weren't there.
Thank you, Rich. Any other questions or comments? Alrighty, so I do have these photos. I think I can share them. I don't know if I can or not, but we will give it a go. So this is looking upland from the shoreline. This is and Karina's actually trying to naturalize this area with natives. Here's the shoreline to the north. This property actually faces eastward, right? So we move on along, and here's the actual plate where the intended placement of the dock is to be. Okay, if there are no questions or comments, I think I'm looking for a I think I'm looking for a motion for a negative determination. also has a DEP number on it. Wow, that's-
I make a motion to approve with a standard order of conditions, Richard.
Thank you,
Second by
Richard.
Jeff.
Jeff. Okay, so, motion, for negative determination with a standard order of conditions. Roll call vote, Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
and I for myself. So that's approved for a negative determination and a standard order of conditions. Okay, thank you, Karina.
All right. Yeah.
Good luck
Thank you
with
very
that.
much. I have one question actually.
Sure.
Since this is the first time I'm going through something like this, will I get any paperwork on this, or basically the minutes of the meeting stand for that?
The meeting minutes, you don't have to wait for paperwork. The meeting minutes actually serve as justification for what you're doing, but the office should send you something and you'll want to
Okay.
have that for your records. And
Okay.
yeah, because you haven't been through this before, also know we basically only have, we're severely understaffed in the office right now with the full-time person and their manager also now transitioning out.
Okay.
So if you don't receive that in a few, actually, if you don't receive it next week, please let me know. And you can find
Okay.
my email address online under the Conservation Commission page. So you can email,
Okay.
feel free to email me directly if that documentation doesn't get to you.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, there's no rush to it. I was just wondering if there was anything coming, but that's fine.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
very
luck.
much. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Thomas Crocker for the removal and reconstruction of a two-family home at 899 Flat Hill Road. Do we have somebody, either the property owner and or their representative on the call tonight?
You have both. This is Jack Maloney from Dillis and Roy, and I believe Thomas is on the Zoom meeting as well. There should be a change to the heading of the notice of intent. It should be a 2-bedroom home and not a 2-family home. That was a typo
Okay.
on my behalf, so I apologize to the commission for that. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please proceed and walk us through your project.
Okay, it's not. Can you see that or no?
We see a blank page.
Yeah. Okay, hang on one second. I apologize. And my screen is blank. Hang on for 1 second, please. I apologize. Let's see if I can pull up the CAD drawing because my PDF viewer is not working for whatever reason. Basically, while this is pulling up, there's an existing 2-bedroom home at 899 Flat Hill Road. This is right at the corner of Spring Street Extension and Flat Hill. That's that sharp left before you go over the bridge. That home is being proposed to be taken down. Some of the foundation walls are to be rebuilt, and it is going to be built exactly in the same spot, same dimensions as it is now. The only reason why they're taking it down is to replace some of the foundation walls that the building inspector insists that they take down that aren't poured concrete. They're either cinder block or fieldstone. So to go up a second floor is at the request of the building inspector. So can everybody see that now?
Not yet. It says that you're sharing, but it's not painted anything to our screens yet.
I have no idea what's going on. I've got a CAD drawing up and for whatever reason, it's not. It says it's paused.
Jack, Greg Roy here.
Hey, Greg,
I'm gonna try to share it, chief. What's the job number?
5362C.
Yeah. Where's where's,
There's a PDF for a Concom rendering in the conservation folder.
okay. Madam Chair, with your permission, I'll share my screen.
Please proceed, Greg. I appreciate it.
Well, let's see. Let's let's see if I can get it done. Hold on.
Yeah, we'll have to see how much mischief Murphy of ill-famed Murphy's Law is up to tonight. There we go.
Okay,
Okay.
so as you can see, this is the gray at the top left of the screen. That's the intersection of Spring Street and Flat Hill Road. There's an existing 2-bedroom home here now. Again, that will be coming down, and any of the foundation walls that are found inadequate will be removed and replaced with concrete walls that will match up with the existing concrete walls that are there. There is no other site work that is being proposed. It's just a removal and replacement of this home. It is going to go up a second story. Basically, the new construction is going to rearrange rooms from a very cramped 2-bedroom kitchen, living room on one floor and spread it out, put the bedrooms upstairs and expand the kitchen and the living space, the living room area downstairs. We do have, if you can look at the bottom right of the screen, there's a straw wattle with the overlaps that we're proposing in yellow on the site. And we have the 2 orange lines. The first one is the 50-foot buffer, and the second one that is through the edge of the house or the end of the house is the 100-foot buffer. Other than that, there is no other regrading or anything that will happen. Again, it's just a removal and replacement of what's there with the second story to it. And if Tom Crocker has any additions for that, I'll give the floor to him if he would like.
Could we see plan note 3? Okay. Okay, I was just looking at the DEP comments, and I don't think that they picked up on the plan that the footprint's gonna not change on this, but the notes are there. I think it's just more an artifact of them being really rushed to do all the stuff they're asked to do.
Correct.
Yep.
Other than that one comment, the DEP had no other comments, and obviously there's a file number of 208-1307 for this project.
Okay, I noticed the erosion control detail shows straw wattles with overlapped ends. I would expect to see straw wattles and a silt fence.
Okay, if that can be part of the approval on your end, I don't think there'd be any issue on our end.
Okay, thank you. I don't, I did walk out there. Yeah, there's a lot happening in a little lot, although that's not as small a lot as many in that area. But yeah, a lot happening, especially with those well keep outs that you have to manage to. I will open the floor to my fellow commissioners, ask questions, make comments. Well, I'm not seeing any comments. We have a quiet commission tonight,
Mhm.
which is okay. Nothing wrong with that. I will open the floor to members of the public. Hang on, Mike LaRouche, the floor is yours.
Yes, just curious on, with the removal of the existing house, does that include the existing deck? Is that going as well and a replacement going in the same footprint?
Yes. It would be.
Okay. No changes?
Nope, that's the proposed size. I believe it's gonna be on sonotubes as it is now. But yeah, that obviously that will have to come down. If that is one of the walls, Mike, that can be saved, obviously that deck will stay, but if it's not, then it's gonna come down and then be rebuilt.
Okay, that's all I needed to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, if there are no questions from fellow commissioners and no questions from members of the public, I am not seeing any last minute raised hands. I think I'm looking for a motion to approve. I would prefer if we had a addition of a silt fence to the straw wattles as added to the order of conditions. But do we have a motion? Well, if we don't have a motion, do we have a concern?
I'll make that a motion, Madam Chairperson. This is Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Madam Chair. It's Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve this NOI, and we have a DEP number 208-1307. So we have the ability to approve in that motion with the addition of a silt fence to, in addition to the straw wattles. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
I vote aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. And for the record, I'm going to acknowledge that Rich Birch has now joined us. So we have the addition of Rich to our conservation rank. So thank you, Rich. Okay, we're going to start in on the continued public hearing section of our agenda. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Peter and Lily Coronis for the demolition of an existing dwelling and detached garage and construction of a new single-family dwelling, driveway, and septic tank at 38 Oak Ridge Road. Do we have the residents or their representative on the call?
Yeah, Ryan Proctor with Dillis and Roy here. I believe Peter and Lily Coronis are on the call as well.
Okay, very good. Why don't you, Ryan, you've already taken us through the details of your project, but just kind of give us the overview, if you would, show us the plans again, if you can, and then let's address where we left off at the last hearing.
Okay, I will begin sharing my screen here. Okay, so thanks for your time tonight. This project, just as a reminder to the commission and the public, was a tear down and rebuild of a 2-bedroom dwelling at 38 Oak Ridge Road, which is located on Lake Shirley. We met with the commission originally 2 weeks ago for the opening of the public hearing. We did not have a file number at that time, and there were some questions and comments from the commission that we were to address before tonight's meeting. And since that second meeting, we did obtain a file number from DEP, which is 208-1306, with a few comments from them as well. So at the end of last week, I submitted a cover letter addressing and summarizing the plan changes per the Conservation Commission's comments as well as DEP's comments. So if it's okay with the commission, I'll just go right down the bulleted list I sent over, summarizing those
Thank you.
changes. So the first comments, these are from the commission members at the opening meeting. It was requested that we include a silt fence in addition to the straw wattle and show that detail on the plan. So I do have the detail included, which has a silt fence and the straw wattle supporting it. And that's indicated by this dark dashed line outside the limit of work. It was requested that we clearly delineate the proposed trees that are to be removed. So I had circled those. The plan I submitted was not colored like this, but I did circle in red the proposed trees that are being removed as part of the project. And one of the major, I'd say the most significant conversation at the previous meeting was relative to mitigation for that tree removal. So I did supply 2 areas and a table of the proposed mitigation. So there are 2 areas that we thought would be suitable. One is below the existing sheds, where I'm circling with my cursor now. And then a larger area is in location of where the existing house, which is going to be removed within that footprint along this property line here, which is adjacent to the proposed house. So the trees that we're taking are primarily pine trees. So to provide mitigation for those trees, we have a mix of low bush blueberry. And then for shade trees, we have 4 dogwood trees and 3 red maples for those trees. And I did have a schedule here specifying size and the common name. The third item that was requested was a grading exhibit. So I did prepare a colored cut and fill plan. And the reason for this request, we are proposing to take down a gravel esker that's mostly on our property, and there's some grading on the abutting property as well, which will come up in the next comment as well. But the legend of the plan indicates that the darker the red areas are the larger cut volumes. So this is that esker where we're going to be cutting it down to level off the area for the proposed house and for the driveway and the garage as well. The rest of the site is pretty mild in terms of cut and fill, indicated by the less intense red and blue colors. The last item from the commission, it was requested, I think by Leah at the opening meeting, was that we provide a updated WPA 3 form with the property owner's signature from 44 Oak Ridge Road. We do have a little bit of grading on the property associated with the removal of that gravel for this project. So we did submit a revised WPA 3 form with the signature from the abutting property owner. DEP had a similar comment relative to obtaining the signature from the abutting property owner. So we did submit that, as I just mentioned. Comment 2 was given the steep slopes and the proximity to wetlands, the commission may want to require additional erosion control measures in stockpile management locations. So I think the erosion control was addressed with the addition of the silt fence. Stockpile areas, it's anticipated that we're going to work our way from the bottom of the site out. So I think I have a note that stockpile materials should be stored outside of the 100-foot buffer zone where possible. And lastly, from DEP, the commission may want the applicant to demonstrate how work this close to the resource area can be performed while providing protection to the resource area in perpetuity. So during construction, we have the erosion control barriers. Those will remain in place and be maintained throughout the construction process. And then we do have the landscape mitigation areas for post-construction, and then any disturbed areas that are not landscaped or occupied by new building area will be restored with 4 inches of lumen seed. So that was it. Those were the comments from the last meeting and from DEP. So if there's any questions on that or any of the previous stuff I've presented, I'm happy to address those questions now.
Thank you, Ryan. So with regard to the to the stockpile location, so you're not specifying them, but just adding a note that they're to be outside the 100
Yeah, where
where
possible.
possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's a pretty small site. There's a lot going on here with the new building and septic. We're definitely not gonna, there's no need to store anything within the 30-foot no zone. Anything temporary may occur next to the building, but yeah, any large stockpile of material is gonna be stockpiled on top of the site where it's flatter.
Okay, so I think what DEP was getting to is that where there are stockpile areas, that they would want to have some additional silt control and protection there.
Okay. Yeah, if that's something, Madam Chair, that could be included as a condition of approval if the commission acts favorably, that's something we're willing. That's not a problem. We're happy to do that.
Okay, and then so I saw your table. Then so the trees that have red around them are the ones that are being removed, yeah?
Yes, yep.
Okay, so how many trees are you removing?
I believe there's 9 total, one of which is a pine tree that's dead.
Okay,
So, yep. And we have
how-
7 replacement trees and then 12 low bush blueberry. And there's some existing vegetation on the property as well,
Okay.
within the 30-foot that we're not touching.
how many trees within the 30-foot are you removing?
There are 3 pine trees.
Okay, then I think that gets you 6 that are, well, no, so within the 50, there are 3 within the 50, and then 3 outside
That's
the
correct.
50.
And then 3 outside the 50.
Okay. And then you're replacing with 7 trees.
7 trees
Uh,
and then 12 of the blueberry bushes.
And where are the new trees gonna go?
Yeah, so sorry, they blend in a little bit. So this is one of the landscape areas here. We have a dogwood and a red maple. And then
Mhm.
we have some 6 low bush blueberries in this area where there's some
Mhm.
existing vegetation there. And then in the location where we're taking out the existing house
Mhm.
along the slope here, we intend to restore that area. We have a row of blueberry bushes along the 30-foot, and then up the side of the slope and along the property line, we have a mix of the dogwoods and the red maple. So they're
Okay.
drawn here in a circle.
So I'll just tell you, speaking for myself, as one member of the commission, we do have a mandatory within the municipal guideline replacement of 2 to 1 for any trees taken out within the 30. I would expect those to be replaced within the 30 because that's where we get the highest level of protection moving forward. When you replace trees outside of the 30, outside of the 50, they're not as protected moving forward for any subsequent work. And the intent of these regulations is to ensure, and the DEP even says it, in perpetuity, right? The protection of the wetland and the protection of these buffer zone trees. So that's, again, that's me speaking as one member of the commission. Other than that, I don't have any questions. I think that addressed all of my notes from what your actions were before. Yeah, so I'll open the floor to other members of the commission. We seem to be going really fast tonight, so I think people need just a minute to wrap their heads around and shift gears from one project to the next.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, it doesn't look like I'm getting any questions. Oh, Jeff, you have a question. You have the floor, Jeff.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to reiterate what you said. I'm in complete agreement with the tree replacement. They should be within the 30 if they're taken outside of that, or if they're taken within the 30. And then I just personally, I'd like to see more hardwoods. Maybe some oaks and maples instead of the dogwoods, but that's just my opinion. Thank you.
I think that's a good point, Jeff. Thank you for bringing it up. Okay, I'm not seeing other questions from members of the commission, so I'll open the floor to members of the public. We have any questions or comments? And I'm not seeing any questions from members of the public. So I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take a straw poll about where my fellow commissioners sit with the concerns about the trees, to see if we want to advocate for continuance and some more detail there, or some changes, or whether the other commissioners are less concerned about that than me and Jeff. And Rich Birch, I'm going to pick on you first. What are your thoughts about the project with all of the added detail that Ryan's added here, and your position on the tree comments?
Yeah, I agree with what you said as far as the tree comment, and agree with Jeff. I also mirror his desire to see some more hardwoods, or honestly a reason why we're not replacing with the like varieties that we're taking out. Other than that, I do thank you, Ryan, for the additional information on the cut and the change in color so that it's a little bit easier to see. So
You're welcome.
I would just like to see a little more replacement of trees in kind. Unfortunately, dogwoods aren't necessarily long-lived nor shade trees to take up the space of the pines. And I think that you said there was an oak or a maple in there that we're taking out.
Yeah, what the oak is up near the septic system here. So
Okay.
up further up on the site. And just to clarify, we do have, in addition to the dogwoods, there were 3 red maples. So it was 4 dogwoods and 3 red maples. So
Okay.
we did intend to do a mix of variety of species.
Okay. Yep. So thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I do mirror your concerns, and other than that, I do appreciate the additional detail in there.
Thank you, Rich. Rich Trimley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'd like to hear from Ryan about the changing out the dogwoods. Let's see if there's something else that we could put in there, because I agree with everything that has been said so far about the dogwood trees. Is there another hardwood tree we could put in its place?
Yeah, we can certainly, I can talk with the applicant and look at some different species, if the commission desires. Yeah, we can look at some alternatives for that.
Yeah, that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Rich. Michael Roosh.
Yes, Madam Chair, I guess everyone probably is trees are on everyone's mind, especially when that 200-year-old sycamore tree in England got cut down in the middle of the night. Everyone's, at least I'm feeling like, how could anyone do that? But
Right.
it happened. But that's not what we're doing here. But it's making me sensitive to the tree replacement, and I echo your views and my other fellow commissioners' views about a little bit more hardwood would go a long way on this project.
Thank you, Mike. Jeff, anything else that you want to add?
No, I guess I just like to say that, red pines are native on the lake here, and they seem to do really well. And they're very hardy, and they resist a lot of the cold. So maybe that would be a suggestion, is maybe to throw in a few of the, the hard red pines, but that would be about it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Ryan, I also echo Rich Birch's comments. You took it back and you were very diligent about all of our comments. And I definitely appreciate that. And I also appreciate the extra level of detail that you've given us in these drawings. I really, really appreciate good engineered drawings. So thank you for that. But we are looking for to see specifically more replication 2-to-1 for the trees, the mature trees that are being taken out within the 30. And we are looking for, particularly for all the trees that are being taken out, to see a better representation of hardwoods, or, Jeff brought up the red pine as a good substitution. I'm happy with those because they do seem to do really well in this area. But if you could beef up your replacements along those recommendations, we would appreciate it.
Okay, understood.
So that means we get to ask you when you might like to have this hearing continued to.
It sounds like the landscaping is really the only concern at this point, so if you can accommodate us at your next meeting, that'd be appreciated. I'm happy to get you a revised
Okay.
landscaping plan prior to, or sometime next
That would
week.
be excellent. And that is October 18th is the date of the next meeting. So I'm looking for a motion to continue this hearing to October 18th.
So moved by Jeff.
Second by Mike.
Okay, roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Rich Birch,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Michael Roosh,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Denise Charpentier for the removal of an existing dwelling and construction of a single-family dwelling at 6 Peninsula Drive. Do we have Denise or her representatives here on the call tonight?
Yep, Ryan Proctor, Dillis and Roy, once again, representing the applicant,
Ryan, welcome
Denny.
back.
Thank you. Denise Charpentier, and I believe her brother Tom is on this call as well with us, the abutting property owner. So I'll just jump right back in and share my screen for this one.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, so just a quick recap. This project is similar to the last, as a tear down of the existing structure on the property and the construction of a new single-family dwelling. This is at 6 Peninsula Drive, which is over on Hickory Hills Lake. Similar to the previous hearing, we had continued the opening public hearing. There were a couple of comments again from the commission, and we were waiting for a file number from DEP, which we have received at this point. And that is file number 208-1305. So I will just once again just go right down with the summary of changes that I made to the site plan. So once again, the major topic of conversation at the first hearing was relative to which trees are coming down and any replacement of those. So I've once again circled the trees that are going to be removed in red. There are 4 trees that are coming down, 2 of which are on the abutting property. And they are all located outside of the 50-foot buffer zone, which is this orange dashed line here. For mitigation to these trees, I again submitted a proposed planting schedule. For shade trees, we are proposing 3 paper birch trees along the property line, and I do have some pictures of this I'll show a little bit later on of this location. But along the property line between Denise Charpentier and Tom Charpentier to the north, we're proposing 3 paper birch trees. And then we are also showing a landscape area within the 30-foot buffer zone, even though we're not removing any vegetation there, where we have 3 rhododendrons and a trumpet honeysuckle in this lower corner of the site here. So that was the first comment. The second comment I think was from Bob Pease, who is, I know is not here tonight, but he asked that I break out the proposed building and deck area from the 50-foot buffer zone, so I've done that. Basically what I was trying to document here is that there's 132 square feet of existing deck area within the 50-foot buffers, between the 30 and the 50-foot buffer zone. And that's what we're proposing as well. So we're not proposing to increase the building area within the 50. So that was that comment. Again, we were asked to, it's not on this sheet, it's on the second sheet of the plan I submitted, but we were asked to include the silt fence in addition to the straw wattle that we'd previously proposed. The location is not changed. It's still this dark dashed line down by the water, but we did beef up that detail as requested. Similar to the previous project, we were asked to obtain a signature from the abutting property owner, Tom Charpentier, for the 2 trees that we're taking down on his property that are just over the lot line. So I did submit a revised WPA 3 form with his signature, and included in the original notice of intent was a letter from Tom supporting this project. And the WPA 3 form was also updated. This was a request from Leah to include the floodplain alteration. So we do have the sandbox that is down by the water right before the dock. I have some pictures of this I'll show in a moment here. But we are working slightly within the floodplain. However, I did add some spot grades to document that we're not intending to change the existing grade out there. So we're not proposing any filling of the floodplain. And then the last 2 comments were from Mass DEP, one of which I've already addressed. It was to supply the signature page on the WPA 3 form. So I've done that. And then the last comment was relative to the deed. The applicant's parents previously owned the property. They've since passed away. So Denise is working on obtaining a new deed for the property so her and her husband can take ownership of it. So those were the comments. I'm going to pull some pictures over. I'm going to try to pull some pictures over. Okay, can everyone see these pictures here on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is the sandbox area that we're proposing to replace within the footprint. We're proposing to do a flagstone patio. The limit of the patio will be approximately where my cursor is here on this upper flat section. There's some concerns right now with the existing sand washing out along the slope. So we want to kind of define that area. And then within the footprint of this upper area, construct that flagstone patio. This is a picture of the shoreline. So the water elevation is, by my guess, about 3 feet below this level area up here, which is the extent of what we're proposing to construct that patio. This is a picture of Tom Charpentier's property to the north, just documenting that there are several mature trees existing on the property within the 30-foot. These are 3 of the 4 trees that we're proposing to take down. This one on the right here is on our property on Sixth Peninsula, and then these 2 trees are on the abutting property. And then the proposed birch trees that we're proposing is along this fence line, along the shared property line, one of which will be located in approximately the same location of the trees that we're taking, and then 2 will be along the property line further back into the site, but still within the buffer zone. They'll be located right along this fence here. This is a view looking towards the lake. So this is a large tree within the 30 on our site on Sixth Peninsula that we're not proposing to remove. And then 3 trees along the shoreline that, again, we're not proposing to touch. This is looking down towards the water. This is standing on top of that flagstone patio area that we're proposing to replace the sandbox with. And then this area is in that lower corner of the property. So this is where we're proposing that second landscape area with the rhododendrons and the honeysuckle. And there is some pretty dense upper story and low story shrubbery and vegetation along that property line already. So those are the pictures. And then one thing I forgot to mention at the first meeting, I wasn't trying to sneak anything past you. I'm just a nervous presenter. The applicant is proposing to construct a privacy fence along the property line to the south. And there is a row of vegetation adjacent to the one tree that we're removing, that they do wish to take down as well. And that was, the intent of this landscape area here is to mitigate for some of that removal along this property line for the construction of that fence. And, we did have a letter of support from Mr. Peters, the abutting property owner, supporting, that portion of the project and the project in general. So I'll leave it at that. I'm sorry for rambling on, but if there's any questions on any of the revised materials, I'm happy to answer that now.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you for that. Thank you for adding that detail. I started out my engineering career as being a nervous presenter too, so I'm right there with you.
Yep.
All good things come with just doing it, right? So
Great.
good on you for getting in there and doing it. So if you would, I would like to look at the table again of the, each of the zones and the amount of disturbance before and after.
Yep.
And I do appreciate you taking on board the comments the commission has made there. So within the 30, the 225 square foot is that sand area that's going to now become patio area.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, and in the drawing you show the before and after, or just the after? That was something that wasn't 100% clear to me.
Yeah, so it's a busy plan. I apologize, but there's it's a solid line here. This is the limit of the existing timber that goes down. And then it's blocked by this spot grade that I added, but similarly it goes down to approximately that tree. We did pull that back. So we do have this hatched area here is that 225 square foot, and that is bound by the upper limits of the existing sandbox,
And
where that timber is.
Floodplain is the curved line that goes through there.
The floodplain is this dashed dotted line here.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the property line, the solid line.
Okay. The property line. Didn't the property go to the lake? Oh, no, it doesn't, because the Hickory Hills Lake Owners Association owns the.
That's right.
Okay, got it. All right, and then you're taking out 4 trees and you're replacing with how many trees?
So we have 3 trees along the property line, and then four shrubs that we're adding to within the 30. But all the trees we're taking down are outside of the 50-foot.
Okay. Now I do appreciate that you're leaving a lot of trees there, but I just want to say out loud too, because it's apparent when you walk the property, and maybe much less apparent for those commissioners that didn't have the opportunity of walking the property, is when you're in the neighborhood and you go through, there is a lot of tree cover. There is tree cover on the back end of this property, but a lot of that's going to have to come down because of the septic system outside of our jurisdictional area. But I think, in the back of people's minds when they're making decisions about tree trade-offs, they think a lot about what's existing on the property and what is going to be touched. And so there's going to be a lot of tree work that has to be done on this property, unless you're going to tell me I'm wrong in that, Ryan.
I will not tell you that.
Okay. And so you're taking down maples and you're replacing with birch?
Yep, there are some birch historically on the property, and we thought they'd do well in this environment, particularly in that location with the sun there.
All the birch on my property is dying.
Oh,
so that
sorry to
gives
hear
me
that.
pause. Well, it's one of the reasons why I actually bought this property 20 some odd years ago, is I liked all the birch on it. So I'm very disappointed. And I do note that you're putting 2 trees. So you're placing 2 new trees on the property where where you're removing the 2 trees. That was something that after the meeting I had in the back of my mind about the replacement on the other property. But it looks like you are actually placing two replacements on the property where you're removing the trees. Yeah.
Yeah, so the intent is to put them right on the property line. There is the fence. It's very faded and blending in here, but that's that wooden fence that I had depicted. So The intent is to install them right on the property where possible. And Tom Charpentier is on this call. I'm sure you could speak to that if you'd like to. But that is our plan.
Okay, where are the other? Okay, so those are two. Where are the other two going?
Yeah, so one is faded here. It's actually in the location, roughly.
Okay.
Of the previous trees, and then we have a cluster of shrubs, down by some existing, shade trees down by the water here. So we have, 3 azaleas and then a trumpet honeysuckle, down by the water.
Okay, so how does, so I've heard that vegetation area is also compensating for the vegetation within the 100 along the lower fence as well?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like that vegetative area would compensate for one tree, right? Maybe robustly for one tree, but maybe not for one tree and what looks like maybe 50 feet of vegetation.
Yeah, so our thought on the shade trees, and I try to show this in my pictures, there's quite a bit of overstory cover on the site already. So we didn't want to choke in the existing areas that we have. I know some of it's cleared now for the lawn area, but our intent was to provide some low brush stuff there. Especially in this portion of the site, it is a pretty crowded site, with even the existing house. So that was our thought there.
Okay, I will open the floor for fellow commissioners. Rich Tremblay, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ryan, those 3 trees we're talking about up there in that property line, can we go back to that picture for just a moment that you have?
Yeah. This one, is this what you're talking about, Rich? You're muted, Rich.
Hello? I'm having a problem with that tonight. I don't know why. Yes, this is the picture I was talking about, Ryan. Thank you.
Okay.
I understand why the 2 trees to the left of the fence are coming down. What's the problem with the tree on the right-hand side, if you will?
So you can just see on the right side, this is the siding of the existing house. And the new house is going to go right there. And there is some lean to this tree here. So the concern is the proximity to the new house, posing the risk of falling and potentially damaging the root system during construction for the foundation of the new house.
Okay, I see. So the tree on the right-hand side, that's where the new house is going to be right next to, correct?
That's right. Yeah, let me just pop right over here. So that tree that on the right was this tree here, and this is the corner of the new house. So it's within 10 feet of the new house and the
Okay,
existing.
then what's wrong with the other 2 that are on the neighbor's property?
So Tom had a limb fall on his roof. I forget what he said, somewhat recently. So similar to that, posing the risk of falling on the existing house, his house. He has a nice deck that comes out this way. And similarly to potentially damaging the root system when we construct our dwelling.
Okay, thank you. All set, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions by members of the commission? Just going back and looking at my my photos of the property as well. Oh, okay. So, and I apologize. I have this on my phone. I don't really have a convenient way of sharing it. So that foliage on the bottom fence line, Ryan,
Yep.
looks like it's all hemlock trees or
That's right.
hemlock bush.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think when you were describing it, I was kind of thinking of it as a non-tree kind of stuff.
I've pulled up a picture of the area. on my screen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, and can we see your drawing again?
You may.
I see Jeff, there's raised his hand. Jeff, you have the floor.
Yes, Ryan, do you have any kind of information on the Fieldstone patio and how that construction would be?
So it's gonna be level with the ground, open joint. The intent is to make it semi-pervious. We're not gonna be using mortar. So least obstructive as possible, least as most pervious as we can. We'll still be functioning. I can try to pull up some pictures if you'd like. But that's our intent.
Okay. Just my memory, I think we had a similar proposal on Reservoir Road, Lake Shirley. They were trying to put a patio
you're
on a
right.
sanded area down by a beach, and I don't think we said no, but they just removed it from the plan. But there was a little resistance with that.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, they had a sand area that they were going to loam and seed, and then
Yeah. It was Matt
replace.
Morrow.
Yeah, with in a different
So-
location, but still within the buffer zone, a large patio area.
Yeah.
Yep. Great memory, Jeff.
So I guess, I mean, it's a concern for us, I guess, not necessarily me personally, but it was a concern in the past.
Yes.
Yeah, we did try to keep it within the same, or we did keep it within the same footprint of that of the sandbox area. So something that's existing there today, we're not expanding that area. In fact, we're going to be reducing the footprint of that with the Fieldstone, and it is going to be semi-pervious, like I said, and open joint.
So Ryan, when you say that you're going to reduce the footprint, what are you going to do with the rest of the sanded area? Is that going to be like loamed and seeded or something, or?
It would be restored. Yeah, we can do loom and seed. They do use that area. They do travel on an area to get to the dock from that patio area. So it would just be a removing of the sand in that upper portion up on top of the slope for the construction of the Fieldstone patio.
Okay. Jeff, do you have any further questions?
Oh, no, that was it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions by members of commission? Actually, while those guys are thinking, Ryan, takes me a while to soak on things, so I apologize for the back and forth. Can we go back up to your table of disturbance by each zone? We looked at the 30. I'd like to look at the so between the 30 and the 50, the pavement and concrete area that is added, that's the 43 feet. What is that?
So that is the stairs coming down from the deck here. So that's just this portion of site stairs to get down from the upper level of the deck on the house.
Okay. And then the what was the last item in that table, which was also additive disturbance in the 30 to 50?
Oh, I'm sorry. There is on this side of the house an existing traveled area. The owners intend to do forgive me, I forgot to mention this, similar material to the flagstone patio, a walkway down to this lower portion of the walkout area beneath the proposed deck. So that area is included in that table as well.
Okay. And let's go back up to the table.
Yep, sorry.
Okay, and then the deck square footage is staying the same.
Yes.
So we're essentially adding roughly 70 square feet in the disturbance in the, within the 50. Okay, I got it.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, I personally would like to see 4 trees go away, 4 trees be added. That's me speaking as one member of the commission. And everybody, I'm well known for having particular interest in the trees and the tree cover. But I'm only one vote on this. I do have a concern about the adding the semi-pervious square footage in the 30-foot zone. But I understand that there's, you know, it's in the interest of the wetland to stabilize that area and ensure that we don't continue to have sand and whatnot eroding into the area. So I think that a semi-pervious patio, me personally, is better than the existing sand area. I would like to see the area that's not going to have the patio, that's going to be closer to the wetland, loomed and seeded to stabilize that area. That's, again, just me talking as one member of the commission. Jeff, you have your hand up?
Yes, it may have been covered already, but is any of this deck area going to be covered with a roof?
I
Great
don't believe so.
question.
I have some architecturals for that. Oh, here we go. No.
I guess
it
we
will
just
not
kind
be.
of assume a deck isn't covered, but I guess it could be.
Yeah, no, it will not,
Okay,
it will
so
not
it's
be
open.
covered.
I got you. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Rich Birch, you have the floor.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Ryan, can we see a picture or two of the lake shore again?
Yeah. Let's see. This is me crouched down by the shoreline, looking in profile.
Okay, so there's just the one pathway going out to the docks that goes down through the armored shore there.
That's right. Yeah, actually, I think I have a. So this is the existing walkway as it is today.
Okay. And it looks like, is that a carpet that's down there?
I believe so. Yeah, it's a.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where that carpet ends, that's gonna be where the end of the patio?
Approximately, yeah. As soon as it, actually in the previous picture, we can see it better. As soon as it levels off, at the top of the bank. Yeah. So yeah, approximately. Yeah, at the beginning of that.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess I would like to offer perhaps on either side, so you've got the 2 trees kind of as pillars to the walkway going down. Can we put a little bit more low vegetation in there along the shoreline? And just make sure that we regrade or even put down a couple of the flagstones to keep because it looks like the sand runs down into the lake from there.
Yeah.
And if we can get just a little more vegetation in through there, I would be happy with that for some tree replacement. If we can get some of the shoreline revegetated a little bit denser, because there's no beach, so there really isn't much of a reason for them to walk down over the armoring. But if we had some low bush blueberries, things like that, clethra, some other low facultative plants along there to add a little more habitat in amongst the armoring area.
Okay.
And then it's not going to block their view. It's not going to really stop them because they're not going to be walking down over that armoring. And are the rest of, unfortunately, I haven't been out on site of the trees that are remaining. Are they all fairly healthy, or is there anything else that may be coming down in short order?
To my knowledge, are all healthy. I'm not going to claim to be an arborist, but I didn't notice anything blatantly obvious out there.
Okay. And can we get a narrative describing the construction of the patio?
You can. Yep.
Okay. Just so it's part of the filing, so that if we get out there and all of a sudden it's a mortared in brick patio, we have something in writing saying, that's not what you said you were doing.
Gotcha. Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Rich. Great suggestions. I actually wonder if, and I don't know that you actually said this, it sounded like you were headed there, but then in my mind anyway, stopped short, like where that carpet is, that there actually be the patio extend to the dock there. Is that what you intended to say, or is that just me building onto what you said?
No, thanks for pointing that out. Yes, I did, instead of having the carpet there, have something a little more permanent that's gonna stop any chance of erosion.
So add a
Because it
walkway
looks
to the
like I
dock.
did happen to go back through the images, and I mean, the dock's been there since the 90s. That's as far back as the images go, and the same with the sand spot. So it has just been a barren sand spot there for quite a few decades now.
Yeah, good suggestion about the low vegetation and adding vegetation along the bank. That's an excellent idea and
Yep, it
recommendation.
looks like it's adequately armored at this point, so there really isn't any reason to have to go through and try to plant into that. There is,
Right.
vegetation coming through it, but just at the top a little bit, again, just adds a little bit more protection to that habitat zone. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Any other questions or comments? Okay, and you have addressed all of the DEP comments, Ryan. So thank you for that. And Rich, again, to be clear, you were recommending the low vegetation at the top of that armored area in lieu of adding an additional replacement tree. Is that your recommendation, or am I misunderstanding?
Nope, that was my recommendation, and that was
Okay.
why I had asked on the condition of the other trees that are there. It does look like it is a fairly wooded canopy that you've got there, so to try to put anything in at this point would stress anything trying to go in, but the understory plants, that's where they grow, that's their environment, so I think they would thrive in a spot like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. So thank you. So I think I'm looking for a motion to approve. Well, actually, do we want to approve now? I'm also very conscious of the fact that we don't have staffing in the office, right, who can actually monitor any incoming documentation and ensure orders of condition don't get issued until, X, Y, or Z, right? So do we want to, as a commission, do we want to ask Ryan to add these notes and bring this back so that we actually are the body that verifies all that is done? I think that in my mind makes the most sense, particularly given our staffing situation. Rich, what are your thoughts about that?
And yes, I agree that they should be sent back to us, and then we can review them prior to approving,
Okay.
given the
Thank-
office staff at this point.
Thank you, Rich Bursch. Rich Tremblay, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree with that. I think we should do that.
Mike LaRouche?
Yeah, I think that's a prudent way to go, given our situation in the office. As long as Ryan does not mind putting together that information for us, that would be great.
Thank you. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Ryan, when do you think you might be able to have that additional information added to your filing and to your plans?
I think we can get that to you prior to your next meeting. And I just do want to say, Tom Charpentier's hand was up a couple minutes ago. I don't know if his question got
Oh,
answered, but
I missed that. Thank you for saying. So Tom, did you have a question or comment? Apologies for
No,
overlooking
yeah,
you.
just can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. No, I just wanted to address, I know one of the committee members had mentioned about the 2 trees on my property that we were talking about taking down. I just wanted to say that one of, all the trees on both properties, they're fairly healthy, except one of those trees that we are taking down is some significant damage from a pileated woodpecker. It has some giant holes through the top, which also indicates some insect activity within the tree. So that's the only real unhealthy tree that I know of.
Thank you for that clarification, Tom. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, I think I'm looking for a motion to continue this hearing to 10:18.
So moved, Rich Birch.
Second by Jeff.
Thank you, Rich and Jeff. We'll go for a roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
I vote aye.
Rich Birch,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
and I for myself. Continue the hearing to 10:18. Thank you, Ryan.
yep, thanks for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Okay, moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Larry Coffrin and Marcia Beers for the relocation of an existing deck at 205 Sunset Lane. And who is here on behalf of this hearing tonight? Greg, we see you waving, but there's no audio. Ah, there we go. 1 minute. This is one of my favorite childhood games.
Do, 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 do.
Exactly.
Oh, look at that. My mic was on. Do, do, do.
Pause now for a brief musical interlude. Yeah, we actually heard Greg just fine earlier when he came in and hit it on behalf of his firm. So we know the microphone has worked today. There is recorded evidence of that. It's got to be. I know I get frustrated when I'm trying to talk and my technology lets me down. Oh, you will log back on. Okay, Greg, I think you can hear me. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can. He's gone. No, yep. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next hearing and just switch the order. Okay. So that'll give Greg time to log back on and maybe do a little bit of troubleshooting that situation. Okay, moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on an amended order of conditions by Nicholas Eaton for repair and construction of an existing deck at 441 Townsend Harbor Road. Do we have Nick and or his representative on a call tonight? No, if I don't see Nick, and I actually thought he's been representing himself for this edition. So
Didn't we continue this at the last meeting because there was no one present?
there was, and we had asked the office to reach out, but I actually don't have an update as to whether anyone did reach out to, the resident. So I don't know. We may not be able to have that, host that hearing tonight. Greg, while you were logging back on, we attempted to move forward and do the last hearing, but the resident, or it doesn't seem like there's a resident or a representative here. So, do you have audio
I-
now?
How about now?
Oh, yeah, that's great.
I was working all night and then the
the
time
way
that I
that
need to
happens.
log on. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. That's never happened to me before. I looked up to unmute myself and it said my microphone wasn't available. So anyway,
Yeah, that happened to me for the first time this week as well.
Yeah.
So maybe it's
Strange.
some awkward patch that Zoom has
I don't know.
implemented. Okay,
Anyways,
so
I am here to
before you
represent,
proceed- yeah, before you
I-
proceed, I'm just going to say that we attempted to move forward on 441, which was the next hearing. The resident's not here, or at least not here yet. So we will jump back to the correct order for the hearing as read for 205 Sunset Lane. And Greg, you have the floor now.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
we
Rich.
open that last hearing, we should probably continue it to the next meeting.
Do you think that, yeah, we probably should, because it's probably not a chance that Nick is going to be on the line for this.
Yeah, we
So
read the preamble just for our records. We should have it continued.
that's
So I would
fair.
make that
And
motion to continue it to the 18th.
thank you, Rich. Do we have a second to continue 441 Townsend Harbor Road to the 18th?
Second, by Jeff.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
I vote aye.
Rich Birsch,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you, Rich. Excellent suggestion. We want to observe the formalities to keep us out of trouble. So back to you, Greg. You have the floor now.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I am Greg Roy with Dillson Roy. I'm representing the applicant who is on the call this evening. Marcia is with us. If I may share my screen, would that be
Please do.
acceptable? Okay. All right. Can everybody see the plan?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so first off, Seth Donahoe from my office and myself seem to come and see you every other meeting, and I apologize for that. Wednesday nights are very busy nights, and Seth was triple booked tonight, so I told him that I would cover Lunenburg on his behalf. So I apologize to the commission that there's been a lot of back and forth between my office on this, but so I think Seth was here last and at least a month ago or so, and it was determined at the time that the proposed mitigation package that we had been presenting to the commission, it did not seem that the commission was looking favorably upon that. A lot with our previous proposal, which was to attempt to try to keep the existing lower landing in its place as it was constructed. So since that time, we've worked with the applicant, and we have a plan before you this evening that reduces the size of that lower landing down to from its current size, which I'm showing here in red is where it exists today, down to what we're proposing in green, which is 4 feet by 8 feet in width. The originally approved configuration had that lower landing at 6 by 8. So we're actually reducing the lower landing to an amount that's less than what was previously approved. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can keep the total square footage of the deck area that exists today on the site, that will exist on the site after this work is completed, to the square footage that was permitted by your commission originally. So we have included a tabulation of the areas, which gives you a summary of what was approved by the originally filed RDA, which was 222 square feet. We have the tabulation of the existing deck as it stands today. So as we located it on the ground after it was constructed, which is 313 square feet. And then the proposed modification that we're proposing this evening brings that down to 222 square feet. So we're proposing that to the commission. We still, of course, have proposed an area where the temporary dock, seasonal dock, will be stored over in this green shaded area. We are proposing an overseed of that area with a wildlife mix, conservation wildlife mix. And the intention there is for to vegetate that area and have good growth vegetation during the summer months, spring, summer, and fall, early fall months. And then during the time when that area would be utilized for the storage of the dock, would be the later fall, winter months, early spring, when we're outside of the primary growing season for that wildflower mix. So that's our intention there, was to try to be compatible with the proposed use of that area, but also to provide some benefit to the buffer zone in that area and some enhancement in that location. I think that's where I'll leave it. Happy to take any questions or comments from the commission, excuse me.
Thank you, Greg. And I do appreciate you being here tonight on behalf of your colleague and helping us get some more movement on this project. And I also appreciate your colleague taking on board the recommendations by conservation commissioners in the previous hearings. I don't have any further questions. What you've addressed are the concerns that I had noted in the previous hearing. So I'll open the floor to my fellow commissioners. Rich Tremblay, you raised your hand. I think you beat Mike to the punch, but you are first. So Rich, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Greg, just a couple of quick questions, if I may. The existing dock, as it sits right now, what's this, not the dock, that platform, a little platform outlined in red?
Yes.
What are the dimensions of that?
I knew you were going to ask me. Well, we're removing 123 square feet. So I think I don't have the dimensions, Rich, but I think we're in the neighborhood of 155 square feet. We're reducing that down to 32 square feet.
Okay, so the one you're going to put in place is going to be 4 feet by 8 feet, if I heard you correctly.
That's correct.
Now, what's going on that? Are we going to put a vertical rail up and around it like the other one had?
I think so. Yes, I think that would be the intention. Basically, the same type of construction that's there today. We would just reduce the size.
I guess my real question is, are we going to attach anything to that deck that protrudes or sticks out over the land or the water or anything like that? It's just going to be a 4 by 8 platform with some type of probably railing for security reasons, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
All right, I'm good then. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Rich. Mike LaRouche, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam Chair. Greg, will the new smaller deck will the supports be in the water or out of the water? or cantilevered from the
Yeah.
land?
Thank you for that, Mike. No, they'd be out of the water in this case, so the solid dash, thicker line here is the edge of the bank. So we're outside of that. We're outside that limit, so we would not be constructing any supports in the water with this plan. Which I know
So
was a
what-
concern with the existing deck, with the existing configuration that's there today.
So what will actually support the deck now?
Well, we'd have sonotubes underneath it. There'll be sonotubes. It's just they'll be up. Well, I think so. I mean, I believe that's what's there. We'll be just upgrading of the edge of the bank, so there'll be no work within the resource area itself, like there was under the existing configuration. So we expect it to be the same type of support structure as what's there today. It's just we're going to move it, upgrading of the edge of the bank.
I see.
That makes sense.
When will the reseeding occur? Will that happen before winter? So there's a chance for that to reseed. So when you put the docks on top of it, it will have a chance to be in the seed will be in the soil already. So when, you know what I'm saying? If you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, I think we could get, I mean, we're coming up, October 15th is sort of our historical date for by past which you don't really want to seed, but of course, this year's a little bit of a different animal. Of course, now that I've said that, we'll probably get our first frost next week. But I mean, so I guess what I'm saying is, barring weather, I mean, I think we'll need a week or two to react to that request, Mr. LaRouche, but barring, assuming we still have a decent chunk of growing season there, I don't know that it makes sense to lay that kind of seed dormant, over if it's not going to do any germination this year. I guess we're willing to do that. It just depending on weather. And it would be nice to have a little, at least it's nice to have a couple weeks of growing season left when you lay seed late season, which is why I've always held an October 15th as a time after which you don't really want to seed. But I'm also not a horticultural expert, and I know we have one on the call. So I guess
Well,
I'd
last
be more
year, they tell you to put your garlic in November in hopes the ground's going to freeze, but unfortunately the ground did not freeze.
It never
And-
froze. Exactly. Yeah.
And the garlic started to sprout, which is not what you want to see, but in this
Yeah.
case, it would help us.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I don't think there's any strong objection to doing that. Having said that, I don't know the status of the dock. I'm assuming it's still in place. I know that Ms. Beers is on the call. So correct me if I'm wrong, but assuming the dock's not occupying the area and we can oversee that area this season, I don't see why that would be a huge issue.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it.
So I would like to ask the question of Marcia. Is the dock still in the water? Is reseeding or seeding that bank an opportunity?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, the dock's still in the water. I'm not sure what the schedule is for it to be come out. We have FW Docks comes and removes it and stacks it up for us. I can give them a call and see where we are on the schedule, but I don't know yet.
Thank you. Do we have questions or comments from other members of the commission?
I do have one, Madam Chair. This is Jeff.
Yes, Jeff, you have the floor.
When is this going to take place? I guess the reconstruction of that lower landing.
I will turn that over to Marcia if she has a idea on the schedule on that.
We haven't got that far. We're waiting to see if the commission was gonna approve it or not, but we right now don't have anybody to help us with it. We'd have to hire someone to come and do the work for us, so it's all waiting on you guys.
Okay,
Okay, that was it.
thank you, Jeff. Any other questions from members of the commission? I'll open the floor to members of the public. If there's any members of the public that have questions or comments. Okay, I think I would like to have very clear and no surprises about what the footing of that lower deck is. I appreciate that the footprint requirement, right? The commission last time we met on this project requested that the owners turn to with a plan that was consistent with the previously approved plan. And in my mind, that condition has been met in terms of square footage. We'd just like to have a note added here as to what the footings will be so that we don't end up with a misalignment again in expectations. That's my only comment. Rich Bursch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just a couple quick questions back to Jeff's question on when the existing deck is going to get pulled out. I would imagine that that's going to have to happen at low water. Is that correct? To get the pilings out that are currently in place?
That would make sense, Rich, yes.
Okay. So where this was currently a violation, I would like to see that we put a date on there that it is removed by March 15th or at whatever point the water starts to come back up at Lake Shirley. And somebody may have a better idea on
Here's the
exactly when the water
question.
gets to that point.
Would we be able to, so it might be easier for us to like dismantle that lower section now or as soon as the water is down and then wait till the spring to like rebuild this new section? If that's a possibility, I'm just trying to figure out, like, I have no idea how to do construction, so I'm just.
Yeah, so I myself, where this was a violation, would like to see it removed in this current low water season. Irregardless of, and at that point, I believe this is a new filing, so you'll have up to 3 years to rebuild the new design of the lower landing, but the existing landing, in my opinion, needs to come out as soon as the water has receded to the point you can get out to those pilings.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, Rich.
Number one. Number two, if we are going to be doing any excavating, I don't know how deep those are down, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a little, I see we have straw wattles for the new deck being put in, but we should probably just have a little bit of erosion protection that can come out quickly once that lower landing is removed. So if we can have that added.
There's nothing permanently built into the ground. That lower level, lower section, it's sitting on the ground, and then there's, I think, 3 posts that are on rocks.
Okay, so you can just lift them up and get them out of there at any point?
I mean, we probably have to take it apart, but yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I was mistaken, Rich. It is not on sonotubes. It is just on blocks or rocks, as the case may be. So it's not a frost protected
It's
foundation, if
compacted
you will.
rocks that are on the bed of the lake, and then there's just the posts.
Okay.
So,
but yeah,
and that would be what I think the way we would build. My point in the previous comment was we intend to build the dismantle the old deck and construct the newly, the newly sized deck in the same manner as the old one was. So we would just use that same plan with blocks.
Okay. And I guess my only other suggestion would be, of course, remove the current landing ASAP When you are ready to reconstruct the new landing, that your engineer marks the spots where the sonotubes are going to go and contacts, if we have somebody in the office, if not, the chair, to come out and verify location prior to them being placed and the new deck being built.
So you're saying that the new lower section has to be on sonotubes?
Well, it has to be supported. Isn't it being supported somehow, Greg?
It's
Yeah,
just
I think, Rich, that it's just on blocks.
Okay,
But, and
not
I think
even
that,
on blocks.
yeah,
Like we were
or
gonna-
rock
yeah,
on the
we were
ground or
told
whatever.
we
so
were told we
that's
couldn't
fine.
put
So once,
anything into the ground,
just so we don't
didn't.
have a miscommunication again, before you install the new landing, have it marked out, the four
Have it
corners.
staked. That's fair, Rich, and we could certainly do that, yeah.
Yeah, and then just have the commission just verify that before it's rebuilt. I think it's
I-
a reasonable request, given the history here.
Does the commission have an issue? So I hate to be to throw a monkey wrench into this discussion, but the existing structure is on blocks or rocks or the ground. My point is, it's not on a permanent foundation, a sonotube type foundation. The intention of the applicant is to construct the new smaller landing in the same manner. However, I just want to point out, we do have a new building commissioner in town, who may have a different interpretation of how things have to be secured to the ground. So long as the lower landing is constructed at a 4x8, does the commission have a problem if that lower landing has to be supported with a more traditional sonotube foundation, provided that the sonotubes are inside of that 4x8 footprint that you would be approving this evening? I just don't want to get the applicant in a position where we said to this commission that we're going to put it on blocks, or we're just going to support it from the ground, and then the building commissioner disagrees with that approach, and then we're in a situation where we have to come back to your commission. Maybe you want us to come back to if that was the case, and that's fine too. I just happen to think about it.
It's a good thing to go ahead and raise, right? I mean, that's the good news for the benefit of the applicant here of hiring a good engineering firm like yourself. You're looking around the corners and trying to identify what are the possibilities of obstacles and make certain they all get out in front, so that we're not having to do a lot of back and forth. And I appreciate you raising that question. I think that's a fair question. Yeah, and I'll leave it to the commission to address. Mike, you had a question or comment?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would acquiesce to the building department of whatever they decide is in the best interest of constructing that lower deck. That's, he knows the codes, and I would feel that, I would go along with what he would suggest is the best way to secure that deck. If it's a sonotube or some other method, but certainly I think that we need to go along with the building department, don't we? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Have to.
Thank you, Mike. Rich Bursch, you have the floor.
Yeah, unfortunately, Greg, do you happen to have what was previously approved that we're going back to? Were sonotubes previously approved? Or was
Well,
the
this
design to
this
just
was
be
We
sitting
were
on the
told nothing.
ground?
We were told no, nothing into the ground. So nothing was put into the ground.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
so that
was the last commission's directives, nothing to be in the ground, where this is within the 30-foot no disturb zone. I myself would adhere to that, nothing in the ground. And just for full disclosure, I was not in favor of this the last time it came up, so.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Jeff, you have your hand raised. You have the floor.
Yeah, I just know one of the neighboring properties. I'm not sure if this is the current building inspector or previous, but it looks like they have little pads that you drive kind of rebar in on angles. And that kind of meets their code to put a footing in. I don't think you're necessarily going to need sonotubes down there to hold a 4x8 deck. If you do it, it just seems kind of overkill to me. But
Maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. Why don't we just roll with the plan as it was previously, I guess, allowed by the commission with the blocks or on the, supported by the ground, not on a permanent foundation. And if for some reason
And
we
the-
have an issue, then we'll have to.
and the existing deck right now just has 4x4s, and it looks like there's just like a 10x10 cut off square, and there's a couple of them stacked crossed, and that's what the 4x4 is resting on. So it nothing is in the ground currently.
Right.
So at least from what I remember in the pictures that I'm looking at here. So yeah, there's no sonotubes right now, and I just can't see sonotubes being required for a 4x8 deck, but I guess you never really know with the building inspector. So
Yeah, it just happened to pop into my head. Maybe I should have just, yeah, we're at the commission's pleasure. It is in your purview, so, I was just trying to avoid a potential issue, so.
That's fair enough. Listen, I think a good thing to ask, and especially so that we all, just talk about it out loud.
Yep.
Sure that we all have consistent expectations.
So we would not object to a condition that would require us to stake that prior to constructing the new landing, so that we can be sure that it's in the proper location and an inspection by your office, by your staff. And I think, relative to the schedule on the removal of the existing landing, I think it's in your purview to, that's an enforcement related issue, I think. And so I think it's in your purview to stipulate a time frame. I guess we would just ask that that I think a March deadline, not March date was thrown out. I guess we would appreciate if we could get, that type of flexibility on the timeline, given that the lake is typically drawn down till about that time. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Greg. Jeff, did you have another question?
no, I'm sorry. I'll lower my hand now.
Thank you. So I did want to address the question about the handrail. The existing deck has a handrail on 2 sides, with an ability to kind of go out and move the dock on the 3rd side, move the dock off. And as I had understood it from previous condition, the handrail was actually specified to discourage people from walking out across the bank and damaging the vegetation. So I just want to get a sense from the commissioners if they feel like that handrail is required, and if so, I think we ought to make certain that it's a note on the drawing. If it's not required and more at the pleasure of the applicant, then we don't need to ask for that note or set it as a condition.
None of the railings were ever required. We added them just based on some recommendations that Bob had made about trying to keep people off of the ground. That's why we put railings, but we were never asked to do that.
Thank you for that clarification, Marcia. So Rich, what's your thought about railings? Rich Bursch.
Yes, I would definitely be in favor of the railings to keep people from jumping off and finding other ways to get to the lakefront, where that
Thank
is a
you.
sensitive area, and any repeated trampling could instantly become an erosion problem.
Thank you. And Rich Tremblay, what are your thoughts about railings?
I agree. I think we need the rails.
Thank you, Rich. Mike LaRouche.
I agree with everyone. The rails are a great idea to keep people from tramping over vegetation. So I think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Mike. Jeff?
I'd like to say yes, but I just don't know how you're gonna get the docks from the water onto the land without going onto the deck first.
Ah, yeah,
I mean,
so the
it's
existing,
either,
again, the
so I think you
existing
gotta
one
keep,
has it on 2 sides and not on the 3rd side.
yeah, so I mean, I understand that you want railings on, well, let's say the south side, but the north side, I think kind of needs to stay open so that you can have access to that side of the property to store the docks and other equipment that's there. So, yeah.
Agreed. Okay. Thank you, Jeff, for that. For describing better about where the railings were not compared to what I was trying to relate. So I do appreciate that. Okay, so then I think I actually also oh no, I think I'm just going to summarize what I have for the conditions that have been specified, so that the commission can correct me if I have I've captured them all, or maybe added in some that was not in the commission's interest. Okay. Condition 1, that the reconstruction, that the deconstruction happen immediately, no later than the drawdown in March of 2024. No later than the high water return in March of 2024. Condition 2, when reconstruction is getting planned, the new deck be marked out with proposed location and contact the commission prior to rebuild. Condition 3, reseeding to happen in the fall. Condition 5, handrail on the south side. I'll let the commissioners raise their hands if there is something that I missed or something that I added in that they were not looking for. Assuming that I captured all of that correctly, I think I'm looking for a motion to approve this NOI with the 4 conditions as stated.
So moved by Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Did you get a second by anybody?
I'll second it, Madam Chair. Rich Birch.
Thank you, Rich Birch. Okay. We'll go for a roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
I will vote aye.
Rich Birch,
No.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
and I for myself. And so that's an approval with only 1 dissenting vote by Rich Birch with the 4 conditions as previously outlined. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And we are going to move along. We have already continued the last hearing. We did that while Greg was dealing with some technical difficulties. So we'll move on to the business end of the agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Greg.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I wondered if I could borrow 60 seconds of the commission's time to give you an update on an enforcement item that you have later on in your agenda.
Yeah, that would be great. I will allow that. Please
thank you.
proceed.
I just wanted to inform the commission that the owners of 39 Island Road which is on your agenda under enforcement issues, have retained our firm to file a notice of intent for the construction of the proposed wall. We actually have filed the notice of intent already. We filed that on Monday with the hope that we could get on your next agenda on the 18th. We did not receive any confirmation on that, though. So I'm still not certain when that'll be on the your agenda, but I wanted to let you know that I'm here on behalf of them, DJ and Krista Palma, the owners of 39 Island Road. Just to give you that update that the owners wish to be responsive. They contacted my office within 24 hours after being contacted by the Conservation Commission, and we shifted things around to get a notice of intent to your commission in the most expeditious way possible. So I just wanted you to know that that they are being responsive and to the enforcement that your commission raised to their attention.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Greg.
That's all.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I do see that NOI logged at the DEP page as well online. So thank you.
You're welcome. That's all. I just wanted to,
Okay.
give you
Thank
that
you.
update.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Righty. So moving along to the business section. Generally we do new business. I don't know. Does anybody have any topics that were unknown within 48 hours of the meeting? I don't hear anything. We won't get an update on the timber right funds. One of the things that I wanted to ask the commissioners is my observation is that this is about agenda formats. It's my observation that generally when we get to the business section, we reorder things a little bit to allow the enforcements and certificates of compliance to be done first. And so I wondered if there's any reason why we couldn't just make that the standard order of the agenda. And I'll just call Rich Birch out first, because I think he knows a lot more about the protocols and things where we have latitude and where we don't, definitely more than me. Is there anything that would keep us from doing that, Rich?
Actually, Madam Chair, the agenda is at the discretion of the chair. You can
Okay,
toss it up however you would like to do it.
okay, excellent. Is anybody opposed to me exercising that discretion and moving enforcements and certificates of compliance? They would still be in this business section, so after all the hearings, but just make it the first order of business that we handle.
I have
think
no
it's a
problem
great
with it,
idea.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
I'm good with that too, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. Thank you. And the other thing that I have asked Ashley to do is to in the hearings to underline the address, because addresses usually come last. And it makes it easier for me to scan historical agendas and meeting minutes and find the address that I'm looking for. Is anybody opposed to that as a formatting change? Okay. All right, I will work with Ashley and
Madam Chair.
Yes, Rich.
The only other comment I did have is in the drive. It seems like the folders are being labeled with the DEP numbers instead of the addresses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which it makes it a little more confusing to try to find the right one.
That's a recent change. They were not like that Saturday morning when I looked. Yeah, that's I'm not in favor of that. I need to see the addresses. Yeah,
And the only other thing, depending on how how she is reproducing the agendas,
mhm.
the meeting ID is actually incorrect as it's typed in the agenda, or at least the one that was, on the website.
Oh, yeah, it sure is. I don't
Yeah, it's
manually put that in
3048
there.
instead of 0348.
Great catch.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was the same, I think, the previous meeting as well.
Okay.
How should it read?
Should be 8390348. So the link is correct just above it, but when they type out the meeting ID, they impose the 0 and the 3. So when I happen to be typing it in my phone off of the agenda, it popped up invalid, and then I could figure it out off of the URL. But if she's just copying all of that, she'll need to update the agenda or the meeting ID.
Yeah, I've captured that as a note. And I also captured the note that the folders need to have the address, parcel address and not the DEP number. Okay. Any other questions or comments about the agenda? Okay, so then moving along, staff and support, you know, I think everybody's aware that we're still looking for a full-time administrator. Our interim administrator has also resigned, which is unfortunate. Leah was absolutely knocking out of the park, even as she was only giving us, I think, 10 hours a week, but still absolutely knocking it out of the park. So we're going to miss having her for interim support. And then I don't know if the fellow administrators or fellow commissioners knew, but our land agent, Adam Burney, has also resigned, I think, effective the 13th of October. So that means, and Adam, of course, was the direct supervisor of the conservation office personnel. So we really are going to have some challenges. Bob and I met with the assistant town manager and the town manager on Monday afternoon to ask what the short-term plan was going to be. It does sound like the assistant town manager has been looking into some temporary resources to help at least get our meeting minutes caught up. She has identified a resource. So, and of course, that's just a clerical skill set. And the resource can, of course, go back to these meeting recordings to draft up the meeting minutes. So it won't happen overnight, but that is something that'll start progressing. Bob and I outlined the urgent needs for the commission and brainstormed with the assistant town manager and town manager about ways to cover the short-term immediate needs. They are going to start reaching out to adjacent towns to see if there are existing conservation administrators that can use some extra hours. We told them that it doesn't always, it's not like we have to take this work and put it on one resource. Maybe we need to figure out a way to get 5 hours here and 5 hours there in patchwork to keep keep all operations still moving along and try to minimize the impact to the residents of Lunenburg and the local businesses that are going to be impacted since we're losing so much help in the office. And then, presumably, one day we will hire back both the administrator and their supervisor, the land manager. And then there's going to be training that has to happen because people don't come up to speed, on a new job overnight. We did get, I think maybe from the building inspector. I don't 100% know where it came from. Bob was first person on this, but we did get a referral from somebody that had recently been hired in from, I think, Lancaster. And the Lancaster administrator recently took a job, I think, with Groton, and is maybe looking to pick up some extra hours, at least for the short term. And so that's a possible opportunity for us to get, at least keep some of the necessary work and site inspections and whatnot moving along. So that's the update on staffing support. Any questions or comments? Not great news. I realize that. So application instructions and guidelines. This was sponsored by Bob to be on the agenda tonight, and he called me before the meeting. He was unexpectedly, not able to attend tonight due to some family responsibilities, but he is working on putting together some application instructions and guidelines that would be easy for Ashley to actually point applicants to, so that they can do a better job of self-checking. Do they have all the right information? Is it complete enough and whatnot? It won't be foolproof, but it at least will be some type of instructions that are available for self-help to applicants that are bringing us RDAs, and maybe in the position of having to do an NOI. So, residents, they're, doing their own work, or one, trying to get an RDA done because they're not even certain if what they're doing is within our jurisdiction. Hopefully it will give them a little bit more instruction on whether they're getting everything together that they need to get together. Anyway, that's it for the new business section. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any hands. And I do see that we still have some members of the public and Dillis and Roy still logged in. So for Steve Petruzzello, if I can call on you, what are you here for? If we can prioritize that, we'll do so.
This is Jack from Dillis and Roy with Steve Petruzzello. We're just sitting waiting for the certificate of compliance section to pop up for his property at 4 Townsend Harbor Road.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then Kelly Freehan, I can call on you. What are you waiting for?
Hi, I'm Kelly Fee, and I'm also the realtor involved with the property at 4 Townsend Harbor Road. So I'm just here supporting my client and also waiting on 4 Townsend Harbor. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's everybody. So I'm going to shift the order, as we often do, to the certificates of compliance. For 4 Townsend Harbor Road is the first one up. And I actually don't have a note from Leah on this, at least none that I can find on 4 Townsend Harbor Road. Leah, being our outgoing interim, conservation commissioner. It was just, so, Jack and Steve, you want to just tell us a little bit about that project and what was done, and maybe let us know, has Leah been there or somebody from the town done a site inspection there?
I have not heard one word other than we were scheduled for tonight for the review of the request for certificate of compliance, which I filed on Steve's behalf under file number 208-1203. There was a order of conditions that was issued by your commission. I'm trying to find a date on it. Back a couple of years ago. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize while you're doing that.
Back
I'm
in
actually-
2020. There was a
2020.
site plan that was done for Alan D'Antonio.
Mhm.
This is that little corner house as you're coming down from the center, taking a left onto Townsend Harbor. It is on the right-hand corner. The site plan that I have was done by engineering design consultants out of Southborough. And when I submitted the COC request, I added some pictures of the site, basically from Townsend Road all the way back and around the house. They added a new driveway and put in a shed according to the plan that I have in front of me, and the limit of clearing, which is now lawn area, appears to be in what was proposed, in the same area that was proposed. It's all lawn, a very well-established lawn. I submitted numerous pictures with the request to your office. So let's say,
Jack, when did you submit those approximately? Just want to make certain I'm looking in the correct place.
Yep, I have my letter. Let's see. My letter was dated September 14th.
Okay. So I'm gonna also go back to Leah's report from that time frame and see if by chance she had did that.
Jack, did you submit an as-built with that?
We did not, and one of the reasons why, Rich, believe it or not, the engineer's plan on there did not have a benchmark. So we didn't have anything to tie in any grades to, but just visually looking at the limit of clearing in regards to where the lawn area is now, it appears to be, again, generally in the right spot, right location. And everything has been loam seeded. It's stabilized. The lawn's been in for about 2 years now, so, or 3 years, and it looks like it's in pretty good shape.
Okay, did you submit a narrative?
I did. Yeah,
Okay.
our letter
All right, was it stamped?
stamped by,
You?
I signed it,
Okay,
and it was, on behalf of Stephen Petrozello, Dilson Roy, respectfully requests that a certificate of compliance be issued to close out the above referenced project as required by General Condition 12 and Special Condition 26 in the order of conditions signed on December 12th, 2023 2020. We have prepared WPA Form 8A and pictures of the site from 9/14/23. These items are attached as required for the commission's use. In addition, a site walk of the property performed by our office on September 14th indicated that the area adjacent to and around the driveway area has been stabilized. As the area has been stabilized for a couple of years, we are requesting that the order be closed out at this time.
Are you willing to add to that narrative that you certify that the project has been done generally within the bounds of the order of conditions and the approved plan?
We could do that, yeah.
Okay. I would be okay with Dillis and Roy supplying a narrative stating that in their opinion, the project was done generally in compliance with the approved order of conditions and approved plan. Given our current status in the office, Madam Chair.
I think that's a good suggestion, Rich. Is anybody opposed to that? We're not voting yet, but is anybody opposed to that or have questions or comments about that approach?
Rich, could you just give me that wording one more time? The project completed.
How did I put it? In your opinion, the project is completed. Is generally in compliance with the order of conditions and the plan approved by Lunenburg Conservation on date blah blah blah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, just something. I mean, you've walked it. You're an engineer. You're saying that in your opinion it is generally completed and generally done properly.
Yep.
You know, so that if we go out there and something is grossly not in compliance, you said it was and we found it wasn't, so then we say bad things about Jack.
That's been done before.
Never.
Well, I didn't say by you.
Oh, okay.
All right, yeah, that also it would work for me as well. And it gets us to a challenge that we have with our current office situation. So I also think, Rich, Bursch, if you're in favor of it, that well, at least I'd like to hear your opinion, that we vote on an approval, but hold that approval contingent upon getting that letter with the added language in it, and then I could ask Jack to email me when we do get that, so that I can confirm with Ashley it's been received in the office, and then we could release that certificate of compliance.
Yep, I think that's a good course of action. It would ensure that we get the paperwork.
Yeah. Okay. So with that condition in place, I think I'm looking for a motion to approve the certificate of compliance contingent upon Jack providing that extra certifying language or adding that to his letter.
So moved.
Second, Mike.
Thank you. All right, we'll go for a roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
I vote aye.
Rich Bursch,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
and I for myself. And Jack, do email me when you provide that to the office, and that way I can verify things. It's a little bit challenging right now, just getting information, the communications back and forth with the office since we're so short-staffed.
Understood.
And I would want to make certain that that we have that, and that Ashley is in the best position to go ahead and execute on that certificate of compliance for you folks.
Okay, Madam Chair, is your email, did I hear you earlier say that it's on the website?
It is, it's available, and Greg has it. And for that matter, Greg has my personal phone as well, so feel free to just text me that information as well if you want to.
I plan on revising that letter in a few minutes and having it in your inbox shortly.
Okay, I appreciate that.
All right, I appreciate everybody hanging in there. Thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anybody on the line for 174 Elmwood Road, which is also under certificate of compliance? I was just going to go back and look at Leah's. I think we've already addressed all of the site visits that she's done, but I'm just going to go back and double check, because if we can move things off of our agenda, I want to do so. Okay, and the last site report that I have, I don't have anything from Adam, so her note to me tonight confirming her resignation said that she gave Adam the final update, and I don't have a copy of that, so we're just gonna have to not progress on 176 Elmwood Road. And I don't see any other members of the public on. Kelly is there, but identified herself as a interested party in 4 Townsend Road, which we've acted on. So we'll go back up to the top of the agenda. We were at old business. Don't have any updates that I'm aware of on any of the encroachment issues. So we'll skip through that. Any updates, Mike, on Hollis Road?
Yes, Madam Chair. I spoke with Chris Ruth today, and he tells me that we've sort of addressed the 2 attic windows that were omitted from the original window project. So those have been done. The front door overhang had a considerable amount of rot, which needed to be addressed by Nick Morrison, who's doing the painting of the trim. And he also has repaired the cedar siding that the bullet went through. You remember the story about, I haven't heard any more from that, but you know, there was still a hole in the garage, and he in turn found some cedar siding to repair that. And right now we're up to about $3,300 over the quote, which had been $4,800. So it brings us to about $8,100. And there looks like there's one last thing that hopefully will come within our ultimate budget, the chimney flashing. I think did I mention that the last time, that there was some issue where I had noticed some staining on the inside, and the tenant said, oh, gee, I'm not sure. I think that's not leaking, but apparently, according to Nick Morrison, the flashing, whoever did it, and it may have been the former tenant who had every good intention, however, may not have had all the skills necessary to install proper chimney flashing, and that is being done. I think it was done today, or at least begun today. Hopefully it will be completed. And that's the last I hear, as far as everything else should have been taken care of and sealed up on that initial painting proposal that we get approved early on. But once again, as we had found more things, the proposal's gone up a little bit. So, but Chris Ruth is on top of things, and as is Nick Morrison, and we're kind of fortunate that he can kind of do carpentry as well as painting, as well as chimney work. Usually we have to assign this out to different individuals, but Nick's been pretty good for us on this project.
So one question for you.
Yeah.
The 3,300 overage includes the chimney flashing, or the chimney flashing is going to be on top of that?
I think Chris said that may not have included the chimney flashing because it was just being done today. So I don't think we have a number on that.
Okay.
So keep our fingers
Unclear.
crossed. And I don't know what happens if it exceeds the $10,000, which
Cap,
is
spending
supposed,
cap that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. So, I'll leave that up to Chris, since he brought this gentleman in.
I
to see
don't,
if-
yeah, I don't know either. I wonder if, do any of the other commissioners know what happens with the, we happen to accidentally incur work that goes over the ceiling, 10,000 ceiling cap. Doesn't look like it's come up before. Okay.
And
I'll
I
ask
have
Bob.
a potentially fun item, and maybe Rich Birch may know about this, but apparently we discovered some jumping worms at the pollinator
Oh,
habitat.
no.
Are you familiar with jumping worms?
I am.
No, I have not had the pleasure of meeting a jumping worm.
Apparently it's occurring somewhere. Initially there was a big to-do about it on the email chain, but it's quieted down. So hopefully they're not jumping as much as they were earlier this summer. So, but apparently it is an issue when you come to plants, and it kind of does something to the soil. And
Supposedly, as far as I had understood, and I've just, follow this stuff out of interest, I'm not an expert. Supposedly the jumping worms are bad because they're displacing the native worms, but the jumping
Yes.
worm castings are, and usually everybody thinks earthworm castings as this super nutrient dense kind of soil goodness, but the jumping worm castings supposedly are depleted of nutrients that our native plants need. So they really are kind of robbing the soil of what, and disrupting the ecosystems that our native plants need. And again, not an expert, but that seems to be what I thought I had been reading from the available expert opinions in literature.
And where did jumping worms come from?
Asia or something.
everything, it seems like, yes, they are an invasive imported creature that we have to deal with.
Yeah. Gosh, so they say that they jump, but I guess they just wiggle around so vigorously that it seems like they're jumping, and they kind of move across the ground like they're jumping because they're wiggling so vigorously. But I've noticed this year in my backyard pool, I have a lot more worms in it than I've ever had before. And after like every rainstorm, the bottom of it is particularly in the deep area is almost covered with worms. And I've
Wow.
never seen that in years past. And I don't know a jumping worm from a native earthworm, but I've wondered why that's different. And I have a 4-foot concrete pool deck all the way around my pool. So I don't really understand how they get there in such great quantities either. Anyway, things that I stay up late at night and wonder about.
I too have a
Okay.
theory, Mary.
Yeah.
When you've heard songs about, the fish are jumping, is that because they've eaten jumping worms? That's why they're jumping? I don't know. Sorry.
I don't know.
It's late.
Yeah. Yeah. We could tell it's late in the
Sorry about
agenda.
that.
We're both getting giddy. Mike, is that, did you have anything else to add about the Hollis
No-
Road
No,
residents?
I think we're good. I think we've reached all of the items on that list.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, okay, so we've already covered certificates of compliance. We have no notices of project change. We have only for enforcement, the only updates that we have in that category is the violation for 205 Sunset, which we heard earlier. Greg's update on Island Road. I don't have any updates on 143 Island Road. 10 Mass Ave. The only update that I have seen is after our last meeting, Bob did go out the following, I think, weekend to check and see if 10 Mass Ave had installed the erosion barrier, straw wattle and silt fence as directed by the interim administrator, and they had not done so. So I'm not, and there was nobody on the property when Bob was there, so he didn't have any follow-up discussions, but I know that he did notify the office. If there are no questions or comments on enforcements, I'll move along to emergency certifications and open space and land use. I captured just for our ongoing visibility, the breakout of the 2 grants that we're actively monitoring and when they were awarded. I don't have any updates on either of those. So yeah, that gets us to the end of the agenda. Unless there are any comments or questions from my fellow members of the commission. I think I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mike?
Second, Jeff.
Yeah. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Rich Tremblay? Rich, you're on mute. It's your favorite trick for tonight.
I know it. Oh, I vote aye.
Rich Birch?
Aye.
Jeff Viviano?
Aye.
Mike LaRouche?
Aye.
And I for myself. Everyone have a
Good night,
lovely
everybody.
evening.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. You too.